Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the ABM All By Myself podcast. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'm thinking for today's comment section, I've noticed that my vocabulary is a little limited. So let's do like a word of the day. So in the comment section, tell me a fun word that you may have recently learned that you want me to implement into my vocabulary and infuse into the next episode. And I will do my best to make sure that I use every single word that you guys put in the comments in tomorrow's episode. And if not, it will be Monday's episode. Because yes, today is the first official Saturday episode. I had my thoughts as far as maybe taking the weekends off, but I thought daily means every day, so I got to be about it every day, bro, in the infamous words of a fellow dailier. So that being said, though, I am going to take it a little bit more relaxed, where we're just going to do questions today. I'm just going to answer some questions. Like I've said 100,000 times already, there was quite a bit. There was 8 pages. And although a lot of them were just wanting me to divulge into my favorite conspiracies, which I will do at some point. My favorite conspiracy is going to take a whole 15 minutes. So maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow I will talk about my favorite conspiracy. If you want to hear about it now, though, just check out this channel. It's called the Anunnaki Theory, and I have a whole 45-minute video dedicated to it. So check that out. But we will talk more about it maybe tomorrow, maybe not. I don't know. I can't promise anything. Let's get into the first question, though. This is from Carly XO. Thank you for the X's and O's, Carly. But that's in your name, so you're giving it to everybody. So it's still special, though. Thank you. Do I get along with Ryland? And it's a two-parter. Do I like being on the podcast? So the first answer to your question, yes. I do enjoy Ryland. I get along with him. We met very early on in Shane and his relationship. I think they were at the point now where they knew it was getting serious. He wanted Ryland to meet the family. And since the jump, I enjoyed him. Over time, I've been able to get to know him even more, and I have to say that my appreciation for him just continues to grow. I am a grower, you know this, and he's growing on me. So, yes, I do get along with Ryland. I think he's very funny, very intelligent. I love his point of view on things. Sandy gets along with him extremely well, and that's rad. I like going over to Shane's and watching her and Ryland hang out. Me and Shane get to hang out, and then we get to come back all to the same crew and get to share what we just talked about. And, anyone that's able to add a different perspective and add something to the mix, I greatly enjoy. And Ryland does all those things. Second part of your question, do I like being on the podcast? Yes, I do. I love hanging out with my brother. I love talking about topics that normally I wouldn't in my daily life, which a lot of the times is what's going on there. And just getting different perspectives on things, I think as people, that's the most beneficial thing we offer to each other is our perspectives. And that podcast is just a great way for me to hang out with people. You guys always send incredible questions into that podcast. Shane has an amazing way of segmenting it to where it's very fun. I'm always looking forward to what kind of crazy shit we're going to eat. Looking forward to what kind of segments he's going to introduce, what kind of questions are going to come up just in general. So I like everything about it. Sorry for the redundance there. The next question, mushrooms and psychedelics and how they help people through hard times and depression. This is from 1031. So I do believe that if you're going through something, a lot of times depression is allowing a negative mindset to develop and become a pattern, and then you become just enthralled by it. I don't know if enthralled is the right word. I'm trying to use different words, guys. That could have been a boof failure right there. But you get settled into this negative mindset that becomes a pattern, that becomes your way of life. And maybe I'll try to work out a metaphor or analogy here for it. Consider your life to be a cup, and depression is allowing a little tiny piece of dust in that cup to completely engulf yourself and your thoughts and everything, and just focus on that, and you take away all of the other opportunity that exists in that cup. So what psychedelics are able to do for you in those times is it opens up the pathways in your mind, and it allows you to kind of explore that cup a little bit more and maybe even pour some water in it to get that dust out, that little piece that's been bothering you, because psychedelics allow you to look at things through many different perspectives, allows you to open up your mind to possibilities that maybe you weren't before. But I will warn you, if you're going through something really challenging, a lot of the times you do play a key part in whatever you're going through, if not every time. But psychedelics is going to make you look that right in the face right away. You're going to have a hurdle. And it's not a negative hurdle. It's a needed hurdle for you to get over in order to become happier, to get past whatever is holding you back. And people will talk about having bad trips and having negative experiences while on psychedelics. And a lot of the times it's attributed to having to get past a very, very rough scenario while you're in that state of mind. And it could become pretty gruesome. You can go through hours of self-work within these psychedelic trips to get to the point where you're able to accept and put in the past something that's been bugging you. So don't be afraid of looking those moments in the face. It's necessary whether you're doing psychedelics or not. Psychedelics are not just something that you take and then magically everything is different. It's something that you take to get you through a tough time with some aid and allow you to come out on the other side better. So with anything, even ayahuasca, you can't take ayahuasca without throwing up and without getting, like a nightmarish type night sweats and visuals. And then all of a sudden you're pulled into the other side and you're able to get through it, which I've actually never done. I'm just talking from experiences I've heard about. But I don't know if that answered the question, 1031. But psychedelics and mushrooms could definitely help during depressing times. That's why the Johns Hopkins University has been doing studies on it. There's MAP, which is an organization that goes in and studies psychedelics and how they can help the mind. So I don't think they would be here on Earth if it wasn't something that we could benefit from. So on to the next question. And this is from Sophie, and I appreciate it because, Sophie, you took me into consideration when you asked this question, and you started it by saying, if comfortable. Well, I will tell you right now, I'm sitting on my couch. I do have my dogs with me, so I'm not technically all by myself, and I'm very comfortable. But I think you mean more like if I'm comfortable sharing something. And that means a lot to me that you asked. And you said, with my past drug use, am I comfortable? Yes. Do I have past drug use? Yes. So, and I'm comfortable talking about it. I think that it's good to share things like this. I mean, AA is a great program for people that are facing alcoholism because you're able to be around others that can tell you their journey, their hardships, and it makes you feel less alone, right? So I don't ever want someone that's going through it to feel more alone in my presence. So for anyone that's maybe going through it, that's why I'm talking about it. So when I was younger, the first thing I ever really tried was cannabis, and I still do use cannabis. I use it differently now than I did when I was younger, but I don't feel like that's necessarily a drug that could ruin your life unless you let it. I mean, anything can ruin your life if you let it, but cannabis isn't trying to right away. When it comes to drugs like cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, stuff of that nature, though, those are usually in it to win it right from the jump. And once you start, they get a grip on you that you just can't let go of, and you're just dependent, right? And my only experience with one of those drugs was cocaine. And when I was younger, I was actually looking for some other types of drugs, some psychedelics, a matter of fact. And the person that I called didn't have any of it, but they did have some cocaine. The people I was with had tried it before. They enjoyed it, so they told me that we should get some. And that night, where at the end of the night, it ended with me on a couch trying to go to sleep because I didn't have a bedroom. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment where Shane and my mom both had bedrooms. I was rarely there, so I felt like it'd be selfish of me to take up a bedroom, so I slept in the living room. I came in the house about 5 a.m., and I had work the next day that I had to get ready for around 8 a.m. I was unable to sleep because that's what cocaine does to you. And then you have something called a come down, where you're coming out of the reality of drugs back into the reality without drugs, and it's very challenging. That's why most people don't stop doing them, because you don't want to come down. but I was listening to Sarah McLachlan on my couch underneath blankets that I would take off, put on, take off, put on because I couldn't regulate my body temperature. And Sarah McLachlan was the only thing in my mind I thought could help me through this. It did not, however. I had to go to work the next day extremely feeling like shit, and I got through it. And for the next probably 2 years, I continued doing cocaine, continued being addicted to it, and I don't look back and think that like I'm proud of those moments at all. It had a pull over me. I had to lie to family. I had to lie to friends. And what finally got me out of it, and I believe I've shared this story, is I woke up one morning after a pretty rough night, and my mom had got me a few things that were very nostalgic, that reminded me of a childhood where we didn't have much. And she was just trying to tell me that she loved me with these gifts, and receiving those in a moment where I felt like such a piece of shit really was eye-opening, and I decided that I was going to try as hard as I can to never touch those drugs again. And so I told my mom. I invited her to lunch one day somewhere because I thought, I don't know how she's going to react, but you can't get too wild at lunch. And that was me being assumptive, because when I told my mom about my drug use, she was nothing but supportive. She actually enrolled us into a church program for people that were recovering. I think it's called Celebrate Recovery, an amazing program. However, one thing I didn't tell her is I still smoked weed, and I was still going to enjoy weed. And so I remember the first time she ever picked me up to go to Celebrate Recovery. I didn't have a car at that time because I had multiple DUIs, which I guess alcohol is a drug. And I don't think anyone should drink alcohol regularly every day, all day. I think it's horrible. I don't drink myself. If you can enjoy it from time to time, why not? But so I had DUIs. I wasn't able to drive. So my mom picked me up from a friend's house, and I had a bunch of weed on me, and I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with this, So I put it in my sock, thinking putting weed in my sock is the best thing. Maybe the sock will cover up the smell, and we'll move on. Nobody will know. However, I got into my mom's car, and the first thing she said is, it smells like we're growing weed in my car. What is that? And I just told her, oh, it's probably on my clothes. I don't know what to tell you. I could change if you want. And she said, no, we're already running late. Let's just go, and hopefully we'll roll down the windows and the smell will leave. But I think she knew what was up. So she asked me if I was hungry. We went to McDonald's first. We did have a couple of minutes. We weren't running late to the point she couldn't at least drive through or go through McDonald's. So we go in there, we order food. I get a bunch of napkins, and I put the weed I have in the napkins, and then I stuff that into my socks, hoping it will kind of help, which it did. But and I'm telling this story, I'm getting a little bit lost in it. But the main takeaway that I'm trying to give you here is, if you're going through it, if you're using drugs, if you're caught in addiction, if you feel ashamed, you feel guilty, you feel bad about it, don't take away the opportunity for your family to help because of your own insecurities. I thought my mom was going to disown me. I thought she was going to be just mad, tell me to get the hell out of the house, and how could I do this? But when I told her that I was struggling, I told her this is something that I don't want to do anymore, that had taken away enough time of my life and from my family, she was nothing but supportive. And even the night after that, where she picked me up, she knew I was high on weed. She knew I had weed on me. Instead of making me feel worse about it, she took me to get something to eat, and then she took me to Celebrate Recovery, which I can say attributed a lot to me being able to successfully stop doing hard drugs. I haven't done cocaine in at this point, almost 20 years. I haven't drinking alcohol in the same amount of time. And if it wasn't for having a support system around me that enabled me to get through that, I couldn't have done it. So this took a very serious turn, and I feel like I was all over the place. I apologize about that if that's how it came across. But that last question was important, so I wanted to treat it as such. And I appreciate you, Sophie, for asking if I was comfortable talking about it. That's very cool of you. That being said, though, guys, we're like pretty much done. We got 10 seconds left. No freestyles again. I will figure that out. I appreciate all the great questions. Hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday. And we'll see each other tomorrow. We won't see each other, but we'll hear each other. God bless.